Sri Ramakrishna Devata Rishyadinyase Vinyoga Om Brahmane Rishaye Namaha Om Gayatri Chandase Namaha Om Aim Sarvadeva Devi Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishnaye Namaha Aim Angushtabhyam Namaha Ram Trijanibhyam Swahamam Madhyamabhyam Vashat Krimganamikabhyam Mumshun Kanishtabhyam Vashat Aim Ramakrishna Paratala Prishtabhyam Astarpat Aim Hridayaya Namaha Ram Shirse Swaha Mam Shikhaye Vashat Krimgavachaya Namaha Vashat Aim Ramakrishna Paratala Prishtabhyam Astarpat Om Aim Sarvadeva Devi Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishna Vijit, where is your microphone? Not working? राजितं निर्विकल्पं सदसदखिलभेदातीतमेकस्वरूपं प्रकृतिविकृतिशून्यं नित्यमानन्दमूर्तिं विमलपरमहंसं रामकृष्णं भजामः निरुपममतिसूक्ष्मं निष्प्रपञ्चं निरीहं गगनसदृशमीशं सर्वभूताधिवासं त्रिगुणरहितसच्चिद्ब्रह्मरूपं वरेण्यं विमलपरमहंसं रामकृष्णं भजामः वितरितुमवतीर्णं ज्ञानभक्तिप्रशान्ति प्रणयगलितचित्तं जीवदुःखासहिष्णु धृतसहजसमाधिं चिन्मयं कोमलाङ्गं विमलपरमहंसं रामकृष्णं भजामः ॐ हृत्पद्मासनं दद्यात् सहस्रारच्युतामृतैः आद्यं चरणयोर्दद्यात् पुनस्वर्गं निवेदयेत् तेनामृतेनाचमनीयं स्नादीयं तेन च स्मृतम् आकाशतत्त्वं वस्त्रं स्यात् गन्धस्यात् गन्धतत्त्वकं चित्तं प्रकल्पयेत् पुष्पं धूपं प्राणान् प्रकल्पयेत् तेजस्तत्त्वं च दीपार्थं नैवेद्यं स्यात् सुधाम्बुधिः अनाहतध्वनिर्घण्टा वायुतत्त्वं च चामरं सहस्रारं भवेच्छत्रं शब्दतत्त्वं च गीतकं नित्यमिन्द्रियकर्माणि चाञ्चल्यं मनसस्तथा सुमेखलां पद्ममालां पुष्पं नानाविधं तथा अमायाद्यै भावपुष्पैः अर्चयेत् भावगोचरम् अमायम् अनहङ्कारम् अरागम् अमदं तथा
अमोहकं मदम्भं च अद्वेषाक्षोभकौ तथा अमात्सर्यम् अलोभं च दशपुष्पं विदुर्बुधा अहिंसा परमं पुष्पं पुष्पमिन्द्रियनिग्रह दया पुष्पं क्षमा पुष्पं ज्ञानपुष्पं च पञ्चमम् इति पञ्चदशैर्भावपुष्पैः सम्पूजयेत् शिवम्। ॐ ह्रीं पीठदेवताभ्यो नमः। ॐ ह्रीं पीठशक्तिभ्यो नमः। ॐ ऐं सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ ऐं एष गन्धः सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ ऐं इदं सचन्दनपुष्पं सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ वनस्पतिरसो दिव्यो गन्धाढ्यः सुमनोहरः आघ्रेयं सर्वदेवानां धूपोऽयं प्रतिगृह्यताम्। ॐ ऐं एष धूपः सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ सुप्रकाशो महादीपो सर्वस्तिमिरापः सबाह्याभ्यन्तरः ज्योति दीपोऽयं प्रतिगृह्यताम्। ॐ ऐं एष दीपः सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ ऐं इदं सोपकरणनैवेद्यं सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ठीक है, खुल गया। ये इसको खोल देना, खुला है। ॐ एतस्मै सोपकरणनैवेद्याय नमः। वं एतस्मै सोपकरणनैवेद्याय नमः। वं एतस्मै सोपकरणनैवेद्याय नमः। ॐ ऐं इदं सोपकरणनैवेद्यं सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय निवेदयामि। ॐ ऋतुकस्तरणमसि स्वाहा। ॐ प्राणाय स्वाहा, प्राणाय स्वाहा, ज्ञानाय स्वाहा, ज्ञानाय स्वाहा, समानाय स्वाहा। ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। यथाग्नेर्दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हि या सर्वविद्यास्वरूपां तां शारदां प्रणमाम्यहं। परतत्त्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्णसमाज्ञया यो धर्मस्थापनरतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम्। Now we will have Arati singing, and then we will have our regular speeches we have today because we are observing the holy birth anniversary of Sri Ramakrishna. We have two important speakers. One is this Rashmi Joshi. She will not only give speech but also will sing some nice songs on Sri Ramakrishna. And also we have the local here, student of Aarohi, So Aarohi gave actually a very nice speech in Providence last Sunday. So she is all set. But now we will proceed with the Arati. Hey, sing. Guru
ज्योति उज्ज्वलति कंदे ज्योतिरो ज्योति उज्ज्वलति कंदे सुमितम भंजन हार प्रभु सुमितम भंजन हार दे दे रंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग गंग दे रंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग गंग गणेश चंद भगत वृंद आरती तुम्हार गणेश चंद भगत वृंद आरती तुम्हार जय जय आरती तुम्हार हर हर आरती तुम्हार शिव शिव आरती तुम्हार
So let us have first Rashmi give a speech, and then Aarohi, and then you will have some singing, and then Yogatmananda will give some closing remarks. If you have some questions, you are welcome to ask. Put around over here.
Watch out, don't trip.
Do you want to sit here? You want to stand?
Good morning to all, and my humble pranams to dear Swamiji. We just celebrated the birthday of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. So today, let us reflect on his life, his teachings, and their relevance in the present context. We have heard in the Bhagavad Gita that God incarnates himself periodically to root out the evil in the prevailing society and to re-establish dharma or righteousness. In the Puranas, there is an incident where Sri Krishna shows Arjuna a huge tree with clusters of blackberries hanging from all its branches. However, on closer examination, Arjuna notices that the clusters of berries are in fact innumerable Krishnas, like his own dear friend. This is to imply that since time immemorial, innumerable incarnations have taken birth, are taking birth, and will take birth. Now, if that is indeed the case, what makes Sri Ramakrishna stand out? What is so unique about him that now, more than ever before, we see more and more people, irrespective of their nationalities and religions, drawn to this Ramakrishna phenomenon? Let us explore some of these unique dimensions of Sri Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna, born into a poor, devout family of Brahmins, and by all accounts, just literate enough to write his name, could have spent his time happily on planet Earth, doing what his ancestors did, officiating as a priest, performing his priestly duties, and in exchange earning his meager livelihood. However, he declared as a young lad that he was simply not interested in striving to gain this type of an education. He had a genuine quest to realize the truth which lay hidden below the chaff of priestly, ritualistic worship. Thus was set the stage for Gadadhar's transformation. His apparent madnesses, his moods of God intoxication and despair, his constant pleadings to his beloved goddess Kali. Do you really exist? If you do, reveal thyself unto me. Days and months without food and water, not a care about the body, simply that singular quest in his mind, Ramakrishna persevered and was finally blessed with a vision of his chosen ideal. Nowhere in the history of past incarnations do we find this struggle so palpably exemplified as in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Personal accounts, eyewitnesses, and photographs all lend validity to this. In this incarnation, we get to see how Gadadhar, a very simple and ordinary human being, is able to scale the lofty peaks of spirituality and become firmly established in Advaita. He becomes a master and is able to easily traverse from the plane of the forms to the plane of the formless. Herein, Sri Ramakrishna shows us ordinary beings the way. He leads. He wears no special attire, no garlands, no bow and arrows or flutes, nothing that will make him stand out of the ordinary. And yet, he is the master who can lead the way to our salvation because he has been there and has done all that. This is a unique aspect of this incarnation. Another important factor that contributes to making Sri Ramakrishna unique is the time of his advent. In the past, during the times of previous incarnations, the problems faced by society were localized. However, from the 18th century onwards, advancements in science and technology brought various nations of the world closer to each other. Problems that we face today are to be viewed in the global context. We know the futility of waging heroic battles, especially in today's context. Wars and acts of aggression only lead to destruction and more destruction. The need of the hour was and is the reformation of the human mind itself, and Sri Ramakrishna did just that. What to speak of global issues? He never dealt with any burning problems that plagued India back then. Issues like social discrimination, the caste system, and the state of women. However, he masterfully transformed the minds of the young and educated men who came to him. This in itself is no less of a miracle. Later on, after his passing away, these very young men, influenced and inspired by their master's teachings, spread his message in India and other parts of the world. As a result, within a very short time, the master's life and teachings revolutionized and continue to revolutionize the world's thought process silently. Ramakrishna, this eternal seeker of truth, did not rest content after his vision of Goddess Kali. In fact, he decided to test for truth in various other sects and religions. We know he practiced Islam, Christianity, and various disciplines of Shaivas, Shaktas, and Vaishnavas. Each intense practice he undertook yielded him the same truth. Here was a man who had actually realized that all paths lead to the same goal. Thus, the essence of the scriptures was exemplified in his sadhana. This is unique in the Ramakrishna incarnation. So, a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna sees no dichotomy in religions. There is no conflict or scope for hatred, since all religions lead to the same truth. A few days ago, I was listening to a lecture delivered by revered Swami Pitambaranandaji, a senior monk of the Ramakrishna order. He spoke on Holy Mother, and he spoke about an interesting facet of the Ramakrishna incarnation, which I feel deserves mention in this context. Holy Mother was asked the reason why she, his Sri Ramakrishna's Shakti, was left behind in this incarnation. Since in all previous incarnations, the Shakti leaves before the incarnation. Holy Mother answered that he wanted people to experience the motherhood of God. So what does that mean? In this age, the human mind is so sullied by vices like lust and greed that even when one thinks of building a relation with God, like say God, my mother, God, my father, my friend or companion, the best relation for this age is God as my mother. The relation of the mother and her child is the singular relationship, still pristine, glorious and unsullied. And the love that a mother has for her child is the closest to unconditional love. Hence, to make it easy for us to understand this love, Sri Sharda Devi stayed on. Also, since Sri Ramakrishna also talked through his own life, we see how he too saw and worshipped God as his mother in his chosen ideal, Bhavatarini Kali. He was himself firmly established in the highest philosophy of Vedanta, but the greatest teacher of the world that he was, he held on steadfastly to the Divine Mother. He gave simple examples to prove lofty spiritual truths. For example, just like water exists in different forms but is the same substance, so too does Brahman exist as God with form and then God without form. Like a seasoned teacher, he was able to unravel the highest truths in simple, lucid language, quoting examples from ordinary life which could be understood by all. This simplicity is the hallmark of Sri Ramakrishna's life. Apart from all these, the Holy Mother says something very important about him. She says, I tell you, it never occurred to me that he practiced all religions with the motive of preaching the idea of spiritual harmony. He was always in a mood of divine ecstasy. But what you should note, my dear, is that renunciation is a special message in this world, in this age. Did anyone see such natural renunciation any time before? And indeed, this kind of sums up what makes Sri Ramakrishna so unique as an incarnation for this age. This is an age in which most of us are immersed in worldliness, selfishness, and egotism. Sri Ramakrishna never delivered any lectures or sermons. He taught through his life by practical demonstration, and we learn it through the lives of his great disciples and followers. Nowhere else in any past incarnations, or even in those who claim to be ones living presently, do we see this great renunciation. So I think by coming to Sri Ramakrishna, we have come to the right place. I would like to end this talk by reciting a poem which I love. The auction room was crowded, people were waiting to see. An old violin, covered with dust, was going for $3. Suddenly there came a bearded man who picked up the bow, wiping the dust from the old violin and tightening up the strings. He played a melody, pure and sweet as the angels sing. From $3 its price rose, 3,000 the final bid. The audience cheered, and some cried out, what changed the worth of the old violin? The answer to the question is, it was the touch of the master's hand. Friends, on this auspicious occasion, let us pray to Sri Ramakrishna that he, out of his infinite compassion and unconditional love, may walk into our lives and bestow upon us his divine touch, so that we too are transformed, just like the old violin. Let us today beseech him to take us, covered though we may be by the dust of worldliness, and to fine-tune us to become instruments worthy of his music.
What a great talk, dear Rashmi. After some days, if somebody wants to find a good essay on Ramakrishna on chat GPT, this will come up, I think. Very good. And our Aarohi now will deliver her wonderful speech. Speech will come out of her ear or out of her mouth.
Good morning, everyone. As we are gathered here today for the auspicious occasion of Sri Ramakrishna's birth anniversary, we commemorate his life, his teachings, and valuable spiritual contributions to the world. Not only did Sri Ramakrishna have a direct impact on his 16 direct disciples, but Sri Ramakrishna's message has inspired and guided the spiritual journeys of numerous souls around the globe. This message, however, would not have reached the rest of the world without Swami Vivekananda. So today, I will be focusing on Sri Ramakrishna's relationship with his most well-known disciple, Narendranath Datta, and his role in the journey from Naren to Swami Vivekananda. Now, let us begin with the first interaction between these two divine souls. Sri Ramakrishna initially met Swami Vivekananda at a festival at the house of Narendranath Mitra in November of 1881. Narendranath was requested to sing a few devotional songs, and Sri Ramakrishna, beyond pleased by his talent, had entered Samadhi while listening to the singing. A few moments later, he took Naren's hand and led him to the northern veranda. "Why have you come so late?" he asked. "How could you be so unkind to keep me waiting for so long?" Young Naren, who was only 18 years old at the time, was taken aback by these words. He thought Sri Ramakrishna was mad and became extremely confused. The master, however, knew exactly who Naren was from the very beginning. He knew the purpose of his own present incarnation. He knew God had sent some great souls to help him fulfill this. He knew that exactly who would be doing exactly what, and he knew when each of his devotees would arrive. Needless to say, Sri Ramakrishna had reached such a divine state that he had these omniscient capabilities. So he requested Naren to visit him again in Dakshineshwar, who, unable to refuse, promised to visit the master again. The teenage boy then began paying closer attention to the master's spiritual habits and ideals. Sri Ramakrishna told Naren that he had seen God as vividly as he sees him, sitting right in front of him. Until now, Narendra's search for someone who had seen God went in vain. The master also said that if anyone wants to see God and calls upon him, God will certainly reveal himself to that person. Hearing Sri Ramakrishna's words, Narendra slowly started to realize that Thakur was unlike any other religious leader. Although fascinated by the master, Naren was still quite hesitant to accept him as his guru. A month later, Naren visited Dakshineshwar to meet Sri Ramakrishna for the second time. He went into the master's room, where the two of them were alone. The master told him to sit on the bed and approached him. Then Sri Ramakrishna put his right foot on Narendranath's body, who suddenly felt everything around him was spinning rapidly. "It seemed to me," Narendra said, and I quote, "that my consciousness of self, together with the entire universe, was about to vanish into a vast, all-devouring void. At the time, this experience was comparable to death for Naren, and out of fear, he cried out, "What are you doing to me? I have parents at home." This instinctive remark highlights Naren's strong relationship with his family. And considering his age and background, this was quite a logical response from him. The master laughed, placed his hand on Naren's chest, and the vision disappeared as quickly as it came. Bewildered by the wonderful experience, Narendra was anxious to understand what had happened. As we all know, Naren was a determined and curious young man. He would not sit still, nor eat, nor sleep, till he had solved what was on his mind. The third time he visited the master, Naren was more cautious. They were walking in Jadu Malik's garden on the bank of the Ganges. Talking about various things, they reached the parlor, and eventually Sri Ramakrishna sat down and entered Samadhi. Suddenly he reached out and touched Naren. Despite trying his best to be on guard, Narendranath became fully unconscious this time. Keep in mind, the previous time he was still aware of his surroundings. But this time, when he regained consciousness, he had no memory of the incident afterwards. After reflecting on these moments, Naren decided to accept Sri Ramakrishna as his guru. Although he developed much love and respect, he had resolved to not believe any of the master's words without testing them for himself. His next step would be working with the master on his path to achieving God realization. Now, it is evident why Narendra was so attached to Sri Ramakrishna. But this relationship was definitely not one-sided. The master himself said he felt a great attraction towards Narendra. Once such a great teacher finds a worthy disciple, he is inspired to share the knowledge of Brahman and guide the student away from material worldly desires. We have already established that Sri Ramakrishna was an avatar. But now we have the question, what was so unique in Narendranath Datta? Out of all the seeds available, how did the master know that this was the one that had the greatest potential? That this was the one which would grow into a powerful tree? Naren was born with divine tendencies, so even before meeting the master, he had some wonderful spiritual experiences. For example, from a tender age, he would always see a light while falling asleep. Young Naren used to lie down with his forehead touching the ground, as one would while prostrating before God. Now, if any average person did this, they would only see black, or nothing. But Naren could see a small point of light, change colors, and grow bigger and bigger until it exploded. At this time, he would fall asleep, losing outer consciousness. As he continued practicing meditation while growing up, Naren would always notice and concentrate on this light. Because he was accustomed to this for so long, he had assumed that this was something everyone witnessed. But one day, when he and his friends were discussing each of their individual visions, he came to know that the vision of light was unique to him. Another distinctive quality of Naren's was his ability to get flashes from previous lives when he encountered a specific person, place, or object. Furthermore, the master had seen some extraordinary visions himself regarding Naren, which gave rise to his affection towards him from the very beginning. But how did the master verify that Naren would be able to succeed and move forward in the spiritual world? When Naren had become unconscious due to the master's powerful touch, Sri Ramakrishna asked him certain questions: where he was from, why he was born, what his purpose in life was, how long he would stay, and so forth. Although a conscious Naren would not have been able to respond to these, he was able to provide the correct answers to each and every one of Sri Ramakrishna's questions in that state. This was the first of many ways the master would assess and examine Naren throughout his life. As an excited child becomes impatient to play with their new toy, Naren was restive and always begged his teacher for more, who in return poked fun at him, reminding him of their first interaction. The master used the analogy of ghosts to tease Naren. A dead man who turned into a ghost was lonely and would rush to the scene whenever he got word of someone else passing away, in hopes of finding a friend for himself. Similarly, when Narendranath had visited, the master was expecting a companion. But when Naren had cried out about having parents, Sri Ramakrishna felt alone again. This could be seen as one way the master confirmed it would still take Naren some time to emotionally detach from the world he was used to and fully indulge in spiritual practices. Over time, however, as a result of observing his master, Naren's inclination towards renunciation significantly increased. In fact, learning about the master's unlimited yet unworldly, selfless love for Naren is quite striking. He behaved with Narendra the way someone would when meeting a close friend after a long time. When it was time for Naren to leave at the end of the day, the master would become sad. There were multiple instances in which Sri Ramakrishna would feel anxious or incomplete in a sense when he was separated from this student of his. Even when surrounded by all his other disciples and devotees, he would still be longing for Naren, since he occupied a special place in his heart. Before making important decisions or plans, the master would consult with him. Sri Ramakrishna said that some of his devotees were like lotuses, with 100 petals, but Naren was 1,000-petaled lotus. Although he was the focus of Thakur's love and attention, he did not allow that to distract him, and continued testing the master and his passion for truth. The latter too always willingly answered his disciple. Evidently, the relationship between these two individuals was heavily based on their trust for each other and their passion for truth. Narendranath's frequent argumentations and questions to the master highlighted his love for truth. On the other hand, Sri Ramakrishna also had doubts about his visions from time to time. Naturally, it is hard to believe that someone can be so confident, intelligent, strong, compassionate, and spiritually motivated altogether. Accordingly, Thakur tested Naren's behavior and knowledge. Along with this came the process of training. Sri Ramakrishna mentored his disciple through various scenarios. Once, Narendra and Hasrat, another man, were discussing the philosophy of non-dualism and laughing. Hearing the laughter, Master came out of his room and once again touched Naren and went into samadhi. Naren later recalled that that day he had a spiritual attainment like no other time. He had realized that there was truly nothing else in the universe other than God. He saw God in everything and everyone. This intoxicating feeling stayed for a while and then began fading away. When Naren finally regained normal consciousness, he was convinced that everything in the scripture was true, and his state had been a revelation of the truth of non-duality. On another occasion, when Sri Ramakrishna was quite ill during his last days, Naren requested the master for the boon of being immersed in samadhi for 3 to 4 days straight. "You fool," was the master's reply. "There is a state even higher than that." The master claimed that to see just the world without God is ignorance. To see only God without the world is a philosophical perspective. But to recognize the manifestation of God in everything is supreme wisdom. And that was what the master wanted Naren to accomplish. The next time, when he had a similar request, Sri Ramakrishna shamed him for harboring such a selfish and inconsequential wish. He said to Naren, "I thought that you would be like a big banyan tree, and thousands of people would rest in your shade." The master scolded Naren for prioritizing his own liberation, leaving the disciple in tears. The flame of God realization in Naren's soul was now a blazing fire. In the Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna mentions 2 main ways of being connected to God, Karma Yoga and Mana Yoga. In terms of Karma Yoga, our work must be done properly without any attachment for the results. Mana Yoga, on the other hand, is in the mind and completely mental. Sri Ramakrishna then brings forth the idea of Bhakti Yoga, saying that one can know everything through Bhakti, and it is that knowledge of God which gives liberation. As a result of guidance from Sri Ramakrishna, who was the greatest teacher of yoga, and Naren's own strong mind and immense focus, Narendranath had truly mastered all three of these, allowing him to progress in his spiritual journey. 2 days before the master left the world, while standing next to his bed, Naren once again questioned in his mind whether the master was truly an incarnation of God. He thought to himself that he would only believe so if the master himself declared so. Just then Sri Ramakrishna uttered, "Are you still not convinced, Naren? He who in the past was born as Rama and Krishna is now living in this very body as Ramakrishna." Finally, he had cleared Naren's last doubt. Thus, in such ways, Sri Ramakrishna helped shape Narendranath Datta from Kolkata into Swami Vivekananda of the world to spread his spiritual message. And Swamiji too worked on this assigned task throughout his life. Thank you.
So we had the wonderful privilege to listen to these two masterful speeches on the life and teachings of Sri Ramakrishna on this auspicious occasion. One thing that our Rashmi clarified is about the idea of God incarnating as human beings. It is the God one can connect to in various ways. There are 3 stages of connecting to God. One whose mind is very pure connects to the all-pervading Brahman everywhere. Sees God everywhere. There is no need for that person to have any special extra connection. I am God, that's it. There is nothing but God is the experience of such a person. There is no I, no world, because of the purity of mind. When the basic impurity creeps in, that is I and the world, that division is the basic impurity. That I am separate, world is separate. Now with this impurity, the vision of the all-pervading Brahman is gone. Now you start seeking the God. You have, because that being the truth, that God actually is all-pervading, we get that sensation always that there is God. But how it is, where to see Him, how to find Him, how to get connected with that God. So there is this symbolism, what we cannot actually see or understand, we put a symbol for that. And then with that symbol, we try to connect to this symbolized. This connection is very important because in our life we deal with symbols. So we have to have a connection between the symbol and the symbolized. For example, like Deepak say driving and then sees the red light. Now what is that red light? Does he just keep on driving, admiring the redness there? That is a symbol. Now stop here. This is for stop. So it is a symbol. Through symbol, we now direct our actions, connect to the reality through symbols. So God has been connected through symbols like that for ages. For example, you find a symbol of fire. Like in Bible you see Moses heard God speaking through what? You know? A burning bush. So that became a symbol, a burning bush. So that doesn't mean God is burning bush. And this symbol is to be used to get connected with this symbolized. It is not that that itself is God, but you take for the time being that to be God and move further. For that purpose, that symbol helps. We have, for example, these symbols among Hindus. The most prominent of those symbols is the sound symbol Om. It is a symbol. So Om is the symbol. With that symbol now you see the all-pervading divine. Then there is the symbols which have kind of personalities. Om also has been given a personality later, so that we can connect to Om not just as sound. And do you know what is the personification of Om? Very commonly worshipped deity, Ganesha. Ganesha is, have you seen the statue, an image of Ganesha? It is like Om. So Om is that the hymns on Ganesha very clearly mention that. Like the most authoritative this Vedic description of Ganesha you find in Ganesha Atharva Shirsham. So there it brings out this idea, Om. Ganesha is just Om. So it is, that is, then there is another symbol like that. Vishnu, the four arms and so forth. Vishnu, Shiva, they are the symbolic representations. So, or goddess Durga, goddess Lakshmi or Kali, and they are symbolic manifestation. They are in a way easier to connect for people because it is Om is just, you feel just a sound, difficult to connect. We need something very visual. Therefore, first that Om was transmuted in a way in the image of Ganesha. So now you have an image, and we need, only audio doesn't give the whole message. We need therefore video, audio, visual. So therefore there are these images, Ganesha, Vishnu, Shiva, Durga, Kali. They don't confuse with that with the what is called avatar. I am coming to that. It is, these are the symbolic presentation. Therefore there is no birth to them. There is no birthday of Shiva. There is no birthday. They are not that they are born like human beings. No birthday for Vishnu, no birthday for Shiva, because they are not human beings as such. They are not born. They are symbols of the all-pervading divine being. But human beings, that also is not sufficient to guide them to get the actual realization or experience of that God. So we need a demonstrator. So God, as it were, thinks that I have to cast myself like a human being. I have to take birth. I have to grow. I have to appear in all different ways like human being. Then alone people can get the guidance, without that, they don't get enough guidance. This is, we in our schools, therefore, to teach children, who are the teachers? Only human beings get appointment as teachers. A cat is not qualified to apply for the job of a teacher. It is only human beings who can apply. Why? Because it is our weakness. We can learn more clearly from human beings only. So therefore God also for us takes the human form, and that is called avatar. And avatar happens again and again because what teachings have been given at one point of time, human beings, they adulterate it according to their desires. They make it convenient for themselves. Comfortable religion. So, therefore, now all the message is completely lost. In the course of time, it is all completely lost. One scholar nicely explained it in a very simple terms. Real scholars, they explain it in very simple terms. That what happens if you make, say, a nice, delicious pudding, and it tastes very good if you eat now, but leave it like that for a week in warm weather, and now it will not be edible. If you, earlier it was giving nice fragrance, inviting fragrance, now it will be stinking, you see. So it is like that the message of the ancient incarnations. What happens? People adulterate it as the time passes on, so that that is because of the inertia, inherent inertia, that I don't want to change. Change becomes, difficult. So they therefore add something that, okay, that is, all right. Like this is, you must have noticed that this is a Jewish facility, Hillel House. So there are certain rules, regulations about eating and all that. And now, as the time goes on, people started changing it because they want to eat many other things. So they change, okay, let us add this to it. This doesn't matter. And then, so it sometimes, some of my Jewish friends, they said, we don't observe any of these rules. So we are Jewish, but we don't observe any of these. It happens, there is that Vaishnavas are not supposed to eat fish, fish, meat like that. But one king wanted to eat, Now a king, king was Vaishnava. So he called a lot of scholars to find out some ways to torture the scriptures so that he can eat fish. So they obliged, money talks. The king was giving money, so it is. And therefore God has to keep on incarnating again and again. This principle has been illustrated most beautifully in Bhagavad Gita, that it is yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati, as and when the practice of religion dwindles, and in the name of religion, dharmasya glanir bhavati, and adharma, that becomes big. So at that time, then God has to again incarnate to present what the real religion is. So that manifestation of God is now God in the human form. In every way, for the mundane appearance, God, that is human, and yet inside it is divine. Let me again repeat, I have told that story so many times because it left such a strong impression on my mind. It is long back, it was in 2003 or something. I was new to this country, comparatively speaking, and then one lady with a little girl like that, Sarika there. Where is Sarika? So that her grandmother had come with that girl and said that my granddaughter wants to ask you a question, and that granddaughter had come there before, but so that granddaughter took me to our chapel. Those days, it was different than now, the chapel. And there was a nice picture of Sri Ramakrishna. And then she asked me, very good question, is he God or is he man? And then what to tell this little girl? So I thought of something. There were chairs there, in the chapel, all wooden chairs. Hey, dear, tell me, is this wood or is this chair? Is this wood or is this chair? And that smart girl immediately said, understood, both. So, Sri Ramakrishna or all incarnations of God, what is it? Human form. Functionally, they are in a way human beings, like chair, It is a form given to wood which acts functionally as chair, That is how the variation of wood to suit for the purpose of sitting. So it is called chair. So man, God assumes the figure of man so that human beings can connect. It is. Vishnu has human form, but then there is no date of birth, no growth, no nothing like that, So therefore, and moreover, there are so many miracles that the Vishnu performs, moreover 4 hands and so forth, So doesn't really connect to us as, after all, that was Vishnu. So, this is Shiva. It is puts on human appearance, but just to say that he is not just human, we add many things there. Some Shiva images with 5 faces. There is the scriptural mention there, Panchamukhi Shiva, that Shiva has 5 faces. Now human beings, we don't find any such thing. Then that Shiva puts on snakes, big snake as garland. And human beings, even if that person has lot of daring, will generally not do to put on a big snake as garland. So, and many such things. So, it is ours, it is God, but that God we cannot really connect as our own and cannot learn from that God much. So what happens? Such gods, they remain in shrine. There, you remain there. They do not, and we tell them, okay, we will offer you some worship, some food, wave some lamp and like that. And thus for that you shower all the comforts in our life, keep myself and my family safe from corona and all such things. That's it. It is, don't interfere much in your life, in our life. You remain there, we remain here, that's it. No connection. With incarnation it becomes completely different. Incarnations interact with human beings, and then the incarnations change from time to time. Like you have so many incarnations that history has recorded, like say Rama, Krishna. There is in Bhagavatam, there is the descriptions of so many incarnations of God. Then there is the Buddha, Jesus, Shankaracharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so many such wonderful incarnations, and Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, because he had to connect to the people of this age, he came with all that required necessities. Like Sri Ramakrishna has therefore got a person to note down the teachings. Otherwise, what Krishna said and who said, who knows, so many thousands of years ago. So we do not have all those teachings clearly with us. Moreover, whether Krishna lived or not, so therefore, Rashmi mentioned that photograph is there, no doubt, it is, and that is the photograph taken in those days when the manipulation that you do now with, programs, whatever, you can have your photograph taken on any background, it is, you can have, with Sri Ramakrishna and you standing side by side, your arm around Sri Ramakrishna. All this can be created now. So it is, but this was photograph taken when nothing like that was there. So it is an authentic photograph. Photographs before some 1950 or some that time are admitted in the court of law as evidence. After that, because all those manipulating techniques gradually started developing, the photographs are not independently admitted as the evidence in the court of law. So anyway, so therefore Sri Ramakrishna came equipped with this. Moreover, most important thing is that Sri Ramakrishna brought to everybody the possibility that you also can experience God. God, this human life is for experiencing God, savoring God. God is the bliss. So we have to have that bliss in our life. Now, our life otherwise is, we don't have to talk much about it, God is there to bring joy in our life by coming in contact with that. God is bliss. And that is what Sri Ramakrishna said. God realization is the goal of life. That is what one should direct all the faculties of life to that one goal. That is the goal. And he showed the path. That is what again the job of incarnation is. That as Jesus wonderfully pointed out, I am the goal, I am the way. Exactly. That you have this path shown in the life of Sri Ramakrishna and follow that. Moreover, he trains his disciple, as that was the main thrust of Aarohi's talk. that here is the example. Narendranath was the highest example. So in that biography of Sri Ramakrishna by Swami Sardananda, a great monumental work. So there he gives two examples only of how Sri Ramakrishna trained his disciples. Two prominent examples. One is Narendranath, the person who he personified the path of knowledge. And then there is Agormani, Gopaler Ma, Gopal's mother. She personified the path of pure devotion. Pure devotion, pure knowledge, and then he showed both of them coming together as Gopal's mother was narrating her experiences, and she was telling Narendra, Swami Vivekananda of future, that, oh, I am an ignorant, unlearned old lady, what can I, but I don't know if I am able to convey all these things to you. So, Narendranath was here shedding tears. Imagine that it is this man of such wonderful intellect, unparalleled. It is such man shedding tears profusely, seeing and hearing about the experiences of Gopal's mother. And Gopal's mother, are these real? Yes, yes, everything is real. It is. So there are these two prominent ways that Sri Ramakrishna manifested, and the path of course, the path of doing the work in the manner of karma yoga, work to be converted into worship. So these are the paths of liberation given by Sri Ramakrishna so wonderfully. So let us feel today that each of us has this capability. Never doubt that, will it be possible for me? Well, if it is possible for one person, it is possible for everybody. It is possible. God realization and thereby fulfilling our life is possible for us, for every one of us. And the other side is there. If we do not realize God, then there is no escape from suffering in this life. That is impossible. God realization may be difficult, but possible. Getting happiness in life without that is neither easy nor difficult. It is impossible. Like getting to the horizon. I see the horizon there. Let me run and get there. Is it easy or difficult? Impossible. It is impossible because such a thing does not exist. God realization, the source of Sat Chit Ananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, that is easy or difficult, that they are, depends on how much try you give it to. Everything appears difficult till you give it a try. When you give it a try, now it starts coming in the realm of possibility, and then it becomes easier. In the beginning, for a baby, that say going to preschool, writing A, B, C, D is so difficult, not possible at all. But as the little one grows, it becomes all so easy. So it is like that. Spiritual practice also. Do you get it, Vivek? Huh? Yeah, if you put it in practice, you start seeing that how easy it is. Much easier than doing the taxes and all that, it is. So, this is the glory of Sri Ramakrishna's life. So let us feel that today. Let us determine, it requires determination. Let us determine that we will walk on that path to the immortal bliss. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine avatar varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha Janamim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Now our wonderful singer Rashmi is here. She will sing some songs. And then in case if you have any questions to put to her as well as Aarohi, you can ask them questions.
This time I thought everyone should sing. So I got this is
Okay.
Aarohi. So
That is wonderful.
That some of you have this. If you want, take it home. You can take it home, these two things, and if anybody's email is not still in your list, please put your email. Right? Last time couple of people did, so we put it in the list. So here, put your name in case it is not in our mailing list yet.
Just hold it close.
So you can repeat after me and then we'll sing along.
Did you turn it off, Manoj?
The thing is not.
It is with her, I don't know.
Before giving her, did you turn it off?
I don't think so, but might have gotten turned off. Yeah, it is turned off.
Not here then.
Yeah, it's on.
हे कल्पतरु हे विश्वगुरु हे कल्पतरु हे विश्वगुरु हे प्रेमरूप अवतार हे प्रेमरूप अवतार हे शारदापति जगतपति हे शारदापति जगतपति तुम करो मम उद्धार तुम करो मम उद्धार तुम करो मम उद्धार तुम करो मम उद्धार हे विश्व गुरु, हे प्रेम रूप अवतार, हे प्रेम रूप अवतार, हे शारदापति जगतपति, हे शारदापति जगतपति, तुम करो मम उद्धार, तुम करो मम उद्धार, तुम करो मम उद्धार, तुम करो मम उद्धार, तुम करो मम उद्धार.
Good. No, see, one more. You did it. Yeah. Where is my phone? You must have memorized many. If you want, you can sit there. I think that will give you feedback then. If he sits here, will it be okay?
Better to stay away from that.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. That speaker, you know.
Yeah.
Stay here, sit here. Yeah.
गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम, गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम. आज ये शुभ दिन मिलिए भगत जन, आज ये शुभ दिन मिलिए भगत जन. गाओ गाओ राम कृष्ण नाम, गाओ गाओ राम कृष्ण नाम. गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम, गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम. राम कृष्ण नामे राम कृष्ण प्रेमे, राम कृष्ण नामे राम कृष्ण प्रेमे. मातिया उठुक धाराधाम, मातिया उठुक धाराधाम. गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम, गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम. हरिते भुभार प्रेम अवतार, हरिते भुभार प्रेम अवतार. प्रभु राम कृष्ण गुणधाम, प्रभु राम कृष्ण गुणधाम. गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम, गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम. जय राम जय कृष्ण विश्व गुरु राम कृष्ण, जय राम जय कृष्ण विश्व गुरु राम कृष्ण. एकाधारी क्षमा शिव श्याम, एकाधारी क्षमा शिव श्याम. गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम, गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण नाम. आज ये शुभ दिन मिलिए भगत जन, आज ये शुभ दिन मिलिए भगत जन. गाओ गाओ राम कृष्ण नाम, गाओ गाओ राम कृष्ण नाम. गाओ रे जय जय राम कृष्ण
anybody has any questions on the discussion? Has anybody any questions on the discussion? Okay then.
There is a question online.
Online there is a question.
Absolute has a question.
Absolute has a question. Wow. Wonderful.
What is to live freely without fear and with complete love?
Yes. See, completely without fear and with love. Very good question. We all look for that. That is, nobody likes to live in fear. And nobody wants to just live without any love. It is therefore a quest for humanity. And if you see what is the cause of fear, we want to live fearlessly, but what is the cause of fear? And the Upanishads give a very clear answer. Vityadvai bhayam bhavati. As long as there are two, there is no escape from fear. If you have the perception of I and somebody, you are afraid of that somebody. It is, even it is, even if the relation is very close, there is fear. It is, even one is afraid of children, that will these children be loving to me or not. They have fear about that. It is with spouse one has fear. Well, today it seems alright, but then it is tomorrow there could be fight, there could be quarrel, who knows? Fear, and therefore you can see that in behavior, and there is a lot of these complexes about interacting with each other due to fear. It is fear is a very big problem because we see the two. When you see the one, you will not have any fear. You can test it, wherever you see one, there is no fear. And the left eye, is it afraid of the right eye? Is left hand afraid of the right hand? No, because there is, you see the oneness. Both left hand, right hand are my hands. They have that oneness, that connection. And so there is no fear. So the more we see the oneness, the fear starts receding. It is. And then you asked about love. Love is the way to see the oneness. The more you establish a loving connection, the fear, as it were, starts receding. It is, you love somebody, then you can talk freely with that somebody. It is, because that has become now so well connected, natural, and you are not afraid of that. So it is so if we develop more and more love, see, love is very different from just having convenient adjustments, like you form a business partnership. You 4 people come together and form an equity firm. Now they are coming together. Is there love? No, as long as I get benefit, we will have this firm going on. When the benefits dwindle, you go your way, I go my way. There is no love there. There is the business relationship, business connections there. Love has to transcend this. Love depends on feeling the same one existence in all. That is why the same which Upanishad, which said earlier what I quoted, Dvaitat vai bhayam bhavati. Due to the perception of multiplicity, the fear rises. That very Upanishad says that one loves only the self. Or you can say God. That is the only source of love. You cannot love anything else except by seeing God in that. There is no way of loving A, loving B is not possible. It is A loving A. Because that I is the source of all love. That Upanishad says, mother does not love the child for the sake of the child, but for one's own sake. It is the husband doesn't love a wife for wife's sake, but for one's own sake. A wife doesn't love husband for the husband's sake, for one's own sake. Nobody loves anything else for that thing's sake. It is only for one's own sake. It's a very inspiring passage. That therefore, it is a very logical and rational way of presentation, friends. And therefore, the self alone is to be loved. That is, being the source of love, that should be sought after. Whatever you love, you seek after that. So it is, yes, my love. Yeah, it is. I was sitting in a flight, I was coming from Alaska, and then one lady was sitting by my side, and then she said, I am going to Boston. Oh, what connection you have got in Boston? Well, I grew up my life was spent in Boston, in Massachusetts, all my... Well, then why do you... No, it's a long story, she said. What long story? I was in love with one boy in my college. And then that boy just went away to Alaska without letting me know anything. So I looked where is he, and then found finally that he is somewhere in Alaska. So then I decided to go to Alaska. See, where is Boston? Where is Alaska? And Alaska is such a huge, it is actually not a state, it is a kind of a continent itself. So it is, and then I asked, did you finally find? No, I did not. I kind of found him, but then he then immediately moved somewhere in another state. So it is. So, but then I found a job in Alaska, I am living there. What I mean is, if you are loving something, then you go a great distance to find it. So, it is love that is most important. But the love is actually only for the self, or that self is God. Our true nature is God. And that love never fades. All other loves, they last for some time, and that's it, like a child, likes a toy for some time and then forgets. So when you grow up, you have a little different toys, that's all. But the basic idea is the same. So it is only God alone can be loved. So Mr. Absolute, you will get absolute, what? Fearlessness and absolute love. Only realizing God. Thank you. Any other question?
Maharaj, I guess
Now you got a question now. My goodness. Okay. Hey, give.
Maharaj, this is more of a comment than anything else, actually.
Okay.
Some of the things that we heard today, one was basically relationship with God, then the purpose of life and all those things, actually. So the point I'm trying to make is that these day and age, the YouTube, you look at the stuff, is filled with a lot of commentaries on, Advaita Vedanta and all the scriptures and everything else. Philosophically, that's very intriguing. It is, like to know all the stuff. But reflect on the stuff, it seems like we as a human being, actually, stuff, that we are barely getting by at the elementary school, yet we are going to the PhD level courses. Look at those stuff. The point is, the fact is, in our day-to-day life, I think it's flawed actually, so we need a framework in our place. I'm talking about general human being. The point is, our relationship with God is very transactional, okay? We basically go to God whenever we are in trouble. Whenever we basically do something else, we take refuge in God, okay? Because that's only, when everything is hunky-dory, we don't even think about God. So our relationship with God is only when I need something, right? That's the only one. Second thing is, this in the whole process, that we always say, for example, even for the people who go, take the time to go to the temple, some are initiated and everything else. When we say something happens, a bad thing happened to us, we say, oh my God, I'm praying to God, God is unfair to me. The point is, we don't understand the reality. The fact is, all the things that are happening to us, bad things happening, are the result of our karma, all the past actions, the reactions that are happening now. The point is, we are praying to God not for the sake of getting a protection. The relationship with God and all the things that we do is really to purify our mind, so that the whole purification process that we are, the life journey, multiple incarnation, is all a function of purification of mind. So ultimately the soul merges with the ultimate. The point I'm going to make is that we need to understand the life skill kind of basic framework through which we can process all the PhD level courses actually, that we listen to that stuff. There should be a basic level understanding. I think we lack that stuff. That's my problem.
Well, we lack, but when there is the feeling that I lack, I will try to gain it.
Sure.
If there are PhD courses, I am in the primary school, okay, let me go up. One day I will become PhD.
Right, but
So
I think we should be given some level to survive at the elementary school also. We need to be given a framework.
Yeah, that is what everywhere there is the framework of that level. Therefore, Sri Ramakrishna gives the framework for every single level, right from the primary to PhD. All different paths, the various different things he teaches according to the level of the person. And that is also the purpose of Guru in life, that you get according to what your level is. It is, and not only that, you will be taken ahead, forward. You will get what you need now, but you will go to a level where your needs will be different. That also will get provided. It is like one assisted living center is there in Providence. In many places they have now that facility connected. When you enter, you can live independently more or less. You need some little assistance, that's all. So it is at the level of assisted living. But the age is advancing, one is not becoming younger there. So gradually you require more help, you become more dependent, you need medical assistance. So now there is a connected facility that is called the nursing home facility. So that has a different framework. So both are there. So it is when we are at a very primary level, there is one framework necessary. As we grow, the different frameworks get provided. So it is matter of evolution, and in evolution, the main principle is struggle. Darwinian evolution also. What is the main principle? Struggle for existence. Forget existence. Struggle is the most important thing. So we must struggle to move forward. Without that struggle, there is no religion, practically possible in one's life. Okay then.
I'll just make one comment. The framework Swamiji gives every time. Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasa. What's the problem, Deepa? There is no problem.
No, the point is
There is
basically.
no problem.
No, absolutely, no, there's no problem. The question is, the Sravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana
Yeah.
are basically related to all the scripture stuff. You have to understand the subtleties of the philosophy.
So
But the
Nididhyasana
point is,
sit
that is
down
different at
and-
a different level. But point I'm taking, it's a life skill. We should have a basic framework when we can
This
go
is
through
the
life. The
framework.
framework is basically, the thing is that we are in this life, we are going through the process, the soul is going through the purification process, and it's all the things are playing out. That's something we need to know. We need to use that as a framework and not blame God when something doesn't happen. You have to go to God for a
Thank
reason.
God.
The purpose is different.
Thank God.
Right,
Uh,
exactly.
There is a very nice phrase that was, this is now the live streaming is getting stopped because the reason is now we are going for the lunch and the lunch is not served online. So they will not get, the web listeners are not going to get that lunch unless the artificial intelligence develops so much. A few more steps are necessary so that they will get their lunch also right from their whatever
It's
instrument
coming,
they
it's
are
coming. I think it's a matter of
listening
time.
from. Yeah, and the plate of pilau also will fall there. So it is so anyway, so this is the people therefore who are devotees that we call, you told very correctly, then when we are in trouble, we call on God. So now if you want to call on God, call for trouble, isn't it? A simple thing. And that is what Kunti did. That great devotee Kunti, she told Krishna that, oh, you give more, please fill our life with more and more problems. Because when there are problems, we remember you. So let the problems come in here. Calamities, actually the word she used is calamities. Vipat. Vipadas santunas shashvat. That let more and more calamities come in my life. Because when the calamities come in life, then I think of you, O God. That is the most important aspect. Think of you, and then you come and rescue us from those calamities. So that is how let the misfortunes come so that we will pray to God, because praying to God is more important. So if there are misfortunes, then then we will pray more to God, isn't it, Sandhya? Yeah. So that is how it is. So let us say the grace, and then we will go for food. As much cold it is.